Hi Anjali.
How are you?
Good, good, good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Right. We both are live from the account. A number of people have joined as well. So, uh, not, and it's 5. So we'll start at sharp at like, we should start now. So I'll just brief you about Investor and then we'll talk about you and your experience with composting.
Sure.
So Investor is an online platform. It's around waste management and it produces a lot of informational content about the waste sector and how waste management is advancing in the country. There's a lot of information about what are the startups coming up, how do you tackle your waste at home, what are
Mm-hmm.
the community initiatives around waste, and the all the big news, what's happening in the waste sector. So if people who are watching can just go and check out the investor site, they'll know a lot about the waste management sector. And coming back to the live, we have Ravneet with us. So Ravneet is an awesome gardener. She's a gardening enthusiast. She has been nurturing number of plants, I guess, in her kitchen garden that she has set up on the terrace by making some, I think, permanent and temporary units.
Yeah,
It's lovely to see
true.
her garden. And almost every day there's some harvest happening in her garden,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that's about Ravneet. Ravneet also started composting, so I'll give these states to Ravneet and ask her about to share with her interest areas and how did she get into gardening.
So I actually started gardening when the lockdown happened. So I started buying a few pots. I bought 5 pots, I think, initially, and then I started reading about gardening. And then I saw a video from Garden Up, Ekta ma'am, and she talks about how using homemade kitchen waste, compost, is good for our garden and it's good for the plants. That's how I actually started composting because she had a few videos online, and that's how the interest built up.
That's amazing. How long you have been composting at your home?
So I think it's been 2 years when I started gardening, so it was completely side by side.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
amazing. So when you started your garden, you started composting as well.
as well. Yeah, true.
That's amazing.
That's how it happened.
That's amazing. So was it easy for you to include composting in your routine or was it like a very time consuming task?
It's not time consuming. It's just taking a break from a routine. So we are habitual of just putting the waste into our bins, packing it up, and then giving it to the garbage wala who comes to our house every day to pick it. So, we need to break the routine of doing it. So just putting a separate bin for the for the kitchen waste. That's how I started it. So I had this steel dabba in my house, and then I kept it on the shelf, kitchen shelf, and told everybody, please put in the banana peels in this. Please, I need the onion peels. That's how I started. So I had to tell everybody, please don't throw away the peels. I need it for my compost. And, that's how I started collecting all the waste.
Right. Was
Yeah.
it challenging, like telling people not to do it, and when you know you are saving it for some useful purpose, and ultimately, because people are, of course, not knowing the whole concept, other family members end up throwing it in the dustbin.
I
So,
got a
how
lot
was
of
it?
sarcastic comments also. Like, you know, they will little, what are you doing? What is this? And, you're just storing waste. And there are at times you get flies, fruit flies on your kitchen waste too. So, you
Right.
don't like to have that thing in your house. So I got those sarcastic comments probably initially in the initial days, and then they were like, okay, now she's just going to do this and she's going to harvest the compost. And they saw me doing it, and then they were like, okay, that's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it happened same with me. When the first
Hmm.
compost was harvested, after that things were streamlined. Still there it
Yeah.
was kind of chaotic of saving the kitchen
Mm.
waste and asking everyone not to throw waste into the dustbin and people will end up throwing the waste in dustbin and it would be but the first harvest actually helped when people realized, oh, kitchen waste can be turned into and compost and
Yeah.
used in the
That's
garden.
when they know that, okay, this is possible, because
Yeah,
now it's soil and they can't see the waste anymore. So that's when they understand, okay, no, it's okay to do it. Yeah.
that's right. That's right. So wait for the first compost harvest, and the family will and around people will start supporting definitely.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
also, you were mentioning something about the compost setup. You said you used kind of dabbas at home. Can you explain it like again?
So I have,
The compost.
we have steel containers at home. So just put it on my shelf. Initially, that's how I started. So I had this steel dolu with a handle. So I used to store in all my peels because I can't keep going upstairs again and again. So after a day, I used to go and store all my peels in one. Then I used to store all the dal water and rice water, all the water which is left over after boiling some vegetables in another container. And there were there are always these two, three containers lying on my kitchen shelf. And I still store all of these liquids and the peels. And that's how I take them upstairs. And then upstairs, I had a paint bucket. That's how I started. I still have it. So it's a paint bucket. I had poked some holes around it and underneath it. And then I have a terracotta plate under it, which collects all the compost tea, and then you just cover it from the top with anything. So that's how I started with this paint bucket, and I still have two paint buckets on my terrace. Yeah,
Okay, that's amazing. So now you're composting in two paint buckets, or there are like more
I have,
structures?
I think I have four or five. I have a matka, a terracotta
Okay,
matka, and then I have two paint buckets, and then I have a composter from Daily Dump. So like I have
that's amazing.
five, six, yeah. But
Wow,
there are
you
times
just
when I
have a
still
lot
find
of
them to
stuff.
be short, and I still need more
Oh,
space. Yeah, I still need more space to compost, and that's when I think there should be something like a community composter or something outside when all of us can just pool in and not throw the waste. So that should be done.
right, right. Because Ravneet, you're composting in matka as well and in plastic buckets. So is there any difference composting in both of these things, or is it the same?
I was trying to find out the difference, but I don't think there is a lot of difference because the paint buckets themselves, I have holes around them. So I think
Okay.
there is a good airflow happening. So I think they're both of them they're, equally good. Even the daily dump composter also works equally well. So they're on the same pace, I would say.
Okay, okay. So there's
Yeah.
no distinction between, oh, don't compost in a plastic bin or just compost
No,
in a
not for me.
pot.
Not for me. No.
So you can compost in anything and it will be equally easy and equally doable, right?
So you know what? So at my mom's place and back home, we don't have a composter because I think it would be difficult for my mom to just pick up the composter and do the heavy work. But we have a backyard, so what we try doing there is we dig up a hole in the ground and then we put in the kitchen waste over there, and then we just
Okay,
cover it with leaves and soil, and that works well. So you don't need a composter as well. You just need to dig in. And, after a few days, you'll see there is nothing over there. And we are doing this since a year, maybe. And there is no
okay,
kitchen waste. You can't see any kitchen waste over there. And it's a really good thing. If you don't want to keep a composter, you can just dig in holes and put your waste over there.
right. I mean, this is something new for me as well. So
Okay.
even if you have some ground space and soil space, you
Yeah.
can dig in holes and put the,
So it should be,
kitchen.
yeah, it should be something which is out of sight. So a backyard is good, and you don't want, anything growing over there. So that is also that, because it's just under a tree, so some good space over there, and then you can just dig a
Okay.
hole. So I think it works out well for us. So maybe somebody else can
That's
also try it too.
I mean, yes, I think you're right. When people have some kind of a space constraint, so that they do not want to invest in a composter or make a DIY arrangement and do not want any
True.
equipment to be placed inside
I
their house.
think for older people, picking up composters or they get heavy. So at times they're
Right.
heavy for me too, and I need somebody to help me with it. And
Right.
at times you're probably just living alone and you have some space. Why not do it? It's easy. Yeah.
This is an excellent, easy tip for composting at home
And
if anyone has some.
there are a lot of earthworms in that area right now. Earlier, it was the soil around it was very hard, and now it's very
Okay.
soft. We've actually shifted that soil to our front yard and used it as manure. So
Oh,
yeah,
That's
It's really
amazing as
good.
well.
Yeah,
Right.
it's really good.
This is something like a different process of composting and different kind of a setup in itself, but to be noted of. Also, you mentioned about people giving waste and throwing the waste out of their homes. So, do you think it's necessary for people to understand the importance of composting, or maybe say compost at home? Is it important, or
I think it's very important for us to understand composting. Since when I went outside once, you go to the outskirts of your city, you see a landfill over there, and it's in a bad shape. And I saw pigs, and I saw cows, and I saw a lot of flies, and it was bad. And this is, a good area in Ludhiana where this was the place. And it's your waste, it's your responsibility. This is what we've created as a society, and it's our responsibility to, look after it. So if you can compost, why not? You should start it. So it's never too late to
right?
start it. So
Right. And even one household stopped giving their waste and people just getting influenced with them.
yeah,
And they just stopped sending their waste to landfill. The vision, just the picture you described of the landfill can be reduced. A lot of
it's
things
actually
can be
bad.
solved
Yeah,
with this simple solution.
yeah,
So
true.
that is. Also, like you have been composting since 2 years, and definitely you are using it in your garden. Have you experienced like good benefits or any kind of a benefit with that?
So I think the day I decided to grow vegetables was the day I decided to make my own compost. So I do buy cow dung manure and vermicompost from the market, but I have a very big space, so there's I need a lot of compost, and
Okay.
I actually use homemade compost in my potting mix, and I get really good harvests in a small pot. So I get messages from people saying this is not possible, or how is this possible? You have such a small container. And then I kind of say, okay, this is because of the compost I'm using. I use the compost tea, I mix it in water and give it to my plants. And I've seen compost tea work wonders. So
Okay.
I had a small pot. I grew broccoli in it last year. And it gave
Right.
me a beautiful harvest. And it's all because of compost tea and homemade compost. So yes, it works wonders.
Right. I think I need to take that tip from you here. My broccoli isn't growing well right now, so I need to feed the plant some compost tea. So
Yeah.
I think you also just gave a good benefit of the compost tea as well here. And
That's my favorite thing to use when I make compost. The favorite thing to use is compost tea. Yeah.
that is, uh, like you, while you started composting, you were learning about it, and it was a new concept to you as well. So, did you
Yeah.
face any kind of challenges over these 2 years or during the period you were composting?
So there are times when I still go wrong, and my kitchen waste is more than the browns I use. So it's usually that, and then I need to add in more coco peat because I have lesser dried leaves in my house. So I need to use coco peat or old soil just to make that proportion. It's usually wet. If it's wet, then I add in more coco peat and then I balance it out.
Okay.
So that's the only way I think you can go wrong when you're making compost. Either your compost can be dry or it can be wet. So that's the challenge.
Right. I mean, same, my majorly compost is usually wet on higher end of moisture, and because of the reason you stated, there's less
Yeah,
of, carbon
yeah,
content, dry
yeah,
leaves and dry stuff, and more of kitchen
yeah,
waste. So
yeah.
I end up have to, every time I check it, I have to just diagnose it for some moisture content and add more of dry leaves to it. Right. So I think because you said you do not have a lot of dry leaves in your to your access, you use coco peat. So coco peat is also a very good alternative which people are using, and it really helps when people are composting in an apartment on a balcony or when they
Yeah,
do not have access to a lot of plants and hence a lot of dry waste. So
true.
that makes the process a lot hassle less as compared to any other thing. So
I
coco
think,
peat is
yeah, if somebody's a beginner, they should use coco peat since it gives beautiful results. You'll get such beautiful compost. it'll happen in a lesser amount of time, and it'll be very brown. It'll be really beautiful, like it's from the market. So I think somebody who is a beginner to composting is apprehensive should definitely use coco peat and their kitchen waste. So that's how they should start.
This is a good beginning tip. And can you also share like what ratio of kitchen waste and cocoa peat should we begin with?
So earlier when I started, I think I read that it should be 1 by 1, 1:1. But I think now when I am doing it, I think the ratio of browns is actually twice the amount of nitrogen of the greens. That's when I read more about it from Daily Dump or from Worm Rani's account, and then you kind of understand, no, it's wetter, the browns are missing. So add more soil or add more coco peat or add more dried leaves, whatever you can get. I also add some cardboard bits if I have. So, whatever I can manage. That's how it
Okay.
happens.
So specifically, it's good if it's 1:2 then. One the kitchen
That's
waste
how
and
it
two the
is.
soil.
That's how I
Okay.
think it is.
So, I mean, there are good handy tips here where we have coco peat with us and where we know the ratio of the kitchen waste and the dry waste. So that is something which people miss on, like adding a lot of carbon. And when there's not a lot of carbon, there's a lot of challenges as well coming up, like smell or a more number of flies. But if this ratio is kept
Yes,
in mind, lot of issues are automatically solved and nothing happens and the process is very smooth,
true,
right?
true. Yeah.
Also, I think you gave a very good idea about doing composting in any of the, I mean, you started collecting in a steel dabba and then you started putting in a plastic bin and then also introduced earthen pots, then also got in store-bought daily dump.
Yeah.
So lot of jugaad versus the store-bought options you had for
Yeah.
composting and all
Okay.
worked equally well.
Yeah. They
So
all
that is a
work
good
equally.
giveaway, right? That is a very good giveaway. You can compost in anything you get your eyes on, right?
Yeah,
So
true.
that's amazing. Also, Ravneet, you talked a lot about composting. We also mentioned about your garden. And are there any other sustainable practices you are looking forward to, you have adopted or you planning to?
So currently I compost and then I make my own bioenzymes. I love making bioenzymes. So I collect the citrus peels. So, anybody would think, okay, she's a little crazy because then now I collect the citrus peels in a separate bin. So that's for my bioenzymes. And I do it whenever I have enough of them, then I start another batch. And it happens in routine. So one bottle of bioenzyme is ready, another bottle you're making, then another bottle I'm taking upstairs to feed to my plants, and I keep one downstairs to clean my washrooms with. So bioenzyme is it's like addiction to me. So I love making that. That's what I do.
That's amazing. Maybe we'll have to plan some another session going
You
diving
should
deep
you
into
should really, I
bioenzymes.
think everybody should really try making bioenzyme. It's a magic liquid. And I tried cleaning my a washroom with it, and it really worked. And that is when I was like, oh my God, this is really good. And why are we not doing this more often? So I think
Right.
must do. Yeah.
So that's amazing. You are taking care of all your kitchen waste at your home, making compost tea and bioenzymes as well. So
I,
that's lovely.
I try.
Right.
I try. Yeah.
I mean, it's inspiring when people are doing so many things in their comfort of their homes, not stepping out, and still they're contributing to the environment. That's the biggest thing I've seen with the home initiatives of sustainable practice, and that actually leads to a better, I should say, better planet. And we are giving something, at least something back to the mother nature. Otherwise, humans cannot give anything back to the nature. But these are the small ways we are contributing for its positive impact,
True.
right?
True.
Right.
That's true.
So I'm just moving into the last, the main question of this live
Uh-huh.
session, where I will be asking you, I will be throwing three words on you:
Mm-hmm.
innovation, inspiration, and interest. According to you, what is the need of the hour from these three?
So if I look at my own thing, I was actually inspired by a few people. So inspiration is really important. So as I mentioned, Worm Rani ma'am, Ekta ma'am from Garden Up, these are the people who really inspired me to, do something and, start something, and it really worked. And that's how I continued with it. And innovation is really important, especially when you see things like daily dump composters. These people, they have made something very easy for us, for people who probably don't want to do DIY their own composter. They can just buy something from the market, and yes, they can make their own compost. So innovation is also very important, and yes, interest kind of develops when you go into it. So yeah, I think the three of them side by side.
I mean, you have
Yeah.
raised all of these three very beautifully, and
Thank you.
that's amazing. We'll take few question and answers if there are some questions, so we'll just
Okay, sure.
head in and answer those. So we have question asking is Bokashi good? Bokashi method of composting. Is it good?
So I did I have seen videos on it, but I don't do it. I think it's a method of composting where there's no oxygen involved. I think
Yes.
it's uh, anaerobic kind of for decomposition. So I would love to try it out, but I don't have any experience on it. Yeah.
Right. A few of the brands like Trustin, they also provide
I
bins
think
with
yes.
Bokashi method of
Yeah, they do.
composting. Right. Next question is, how big is your space? If you do not have problem answering that.
Okay. I don't have any idea how big is the space. I I have two terraces. So there's a second floor terrace, and I have a small space over there, and then I have the entire third floor. The third floor terrace was completely vacant, by the way. It had unused pots lying around, and I just started using it. So that's the
Okay.
space I had.
Okay, now there's this gardening question. Which
Uh-huh.
seeds are you planning to grow in summer?
Okay, I've started my seeds, I think all of them. I started with ghia, karela, cucumber, the long cucumber you get, tomatoes. I love growing tomatoes, and flower seeds. So quite a few.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And maybe people can follow your page and they'll get to know everything about it, about all what you're planning to and what you already been growing, and
Yeah.
some tips as well. So here's Ravneet for you people. Thank you for joining in. Thank you, Ravneet, for answering our questions so patiently and interacting with us,
Thank you,
growing life
Anjali.
for
Thank you
composting.
so much.
It was
Yeah.
lovely talking to you.
Yeah, same here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So,
Bye-bye. Yeah.
Ravneet's Instagram page goes by the name Cherry by Haryali.
It's
My
Haryali.
Instagram
Yeah.
page
Yeah.
goes with Sunehri underscore
Sinahari.
mix.
Yeah.
Yes, so we both are composting, and people who want to learn more about composting or ways to manage the household waste, kitchen waste as well, please follow these pages and get more tips, and definitely a gardening, huge booming garden from Ravneet's page. Thank you, everyone. Have a very good
Thank you.
evening. Thank you,
Thank you.
Ravneet.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.